So a few weeks ago, Milan legend Alessandro Costagurta came out with this statement that probably perfectly summarized this team. AC Milan are a side that can beat anyone, and they're also a team that can lose to anyone. The only addition you could have made to that is AC Milan are a side that can win games in injury time and are also a side that can drop points in injury time. Because that's pretty much what happened today. A lot of you guys were not happy with my statement that a 1-1 result was probably the more fair one. Milan were unable to pick up those 3 points. They totally rode their luck though after Inter hit the post, the same post, 3 different times. And once again, before we dive into the good, bad, and the ugly, there is an important announcement around the channel at the end of this video, so make sure you guys stick around till the end. So taking it all the way from the top, you have to say that Mike Maignan was the #1 good thing that happened to this Milan team. There are a lot of goals that they could have conceded if it wasn't for him being that last line of defense, the last shot stopper for Milan. And there are a few really good quality saves that he was involved in. That stop that he made on Lautaro Martinez. Martinez tried to be over smart. He tried to go between the legs of Mike. He closed his legs and was able to deflect that shot. But that save that he made in the second half, in the dying minutes of the game, well, pretty much before that goal was eventually scored by Inter, but that stop on Denzel Dumfries was ridiculous. You can't really blame him for the goal that Inter conceded. He couldn't have really truly done too much on that. There are a few other players are going to blame for that, but Maignan, when it came to his shot stopping ability, when it came to his, even creating from the back, he looked so much more comfortable on the ball. There was one point in time where an Inter player was actually trying to close him down, and the way that he used his back heel to just move the ball to the side, held on to possession, even outside the box, he was playing like a sweeper at that point in time. The second good thing from today's game is the debutant, Kyle Walker. Now, a lot of Kyle Walker's reputation, at least for people who don't watch him a lot, has, been created from the fact that he's a really good attacking player moving forward. He's got the speed, he's got the experience, probably not as much speed anymore, because he's a little bit older, but he definitely has been known to be the player that, can create a lot. But I have never actually really looked at him as a player who's coming to Serie A, who's going to, take this team to the next level from a defensive standpoint. But Walker actually really impressed me today with his defense. Around 10 minutes, there was an important interception from an attack that Inter was creating. That interception was pulled off by Kyle. And 5 minutes after that, on the edge of Milan's box, there was a slide tackle that was put in by Walker that, switched possession from Inter to Milan. And it was, in the dying minutes of the game, around the 89th minute, there was an opportunity that was being created by Lautaro Martinez. The way that Walker sort of, stalled that attack that Inter was trying to create, forced a goal kick out of that, and then he started looking at the crowd and trying to rile them up. You felt like he sort of just fit into place in his first match. As I said, we didn't really get to see a lot from him from an attacking standpoint, but that may have even been a coach's decision to maintain solidity in the back instead of, trying to take too many chances up front. He didn't make some mistakes. There was a point in time when he gave the ball up to Lautaro Martinez and they started an attack, but overall, as a whole, you felt like it was a pretty solid performance for a player that was, thrown right into the mix, playing his first match in Serie A, and that too in a Milan derby. The next good thing from today's game, Fikayo freaking Tomori might just be the man of the match from today's game. I mean, I don't know what it is about these players being linked to a move away. It happened with Strajna Pavlovic. It was being said he's going to move to, I think, Fenerbahce, and he was on the verge of playing his last game. Suddenly he turned into this beast mode Pavlovic that we've probably never seen play at Milan before. And you could almost argue the same thing for Fikayo Tomori. He was on the verge reportedly of either moving to Aston Villa or to Tottenham potentially. A lot of, a lot of reports are coming out that there's almost no chance that he starts in today's derby. The reports have said that he actually rejected that move to Tottenham. He wants to stay at Milan if that is the truth. But the fact is that he was played today. I think Matteo Gabbia wasn't at his best form, best fitness level. Malik Tau has been injured, so this was really the only center back that you could play alongside Strajna Pavlovic. And let me tell you something. Fikayo Tomori turned back the clock to what he was back in the 2022 season. The way that he closed down Inter, his positioning was near perfect for today's game. The amount of times that he blocked chances being created by Inter's really dynamic front line. He stopped Marcus Thuram, he stopped Lautaro Martinez. He was involved in a bunch of possession changes from an Inter attack to a Milan attack. Around 23 minutes, there was an attack that was being created by Nicolo Barella. The way that Tomori, he didn't actually put in a hero tackle or anything. The way that he sort of pushed Barella away from Milan's goal and more towards the sidelines, that was just quality defense where he just didn't give him any space to be able to do anything with. Then around the 30th minute, there was a defensive block on Marcus Thuram on the edge of the box. In the second half too, there was a chance created by Nicolo Barella again, and the way that Tomori got in the way of that, it forced a corner kick out of it, but he just didn't let them through. They had to earn every chance of being able to attack at Milan's goal. And for that reason, as I said, arguably, Tomori was the man of the match for today's game. And then there's his defensive partner in Straina Pavlovic. It's been an interesting season because at the beginning of the season, the expectation was that Ficaio Tomori and Pavlovic would be the starting center backs for Milan. At least that's what the expectation was, considering this was a new signing that came in. And then as this season sort of progressed under Paulo Fonseca, he decided to drop both of those players, and a lot of people would argue rightfully so, and he chose to start with Malik Thiaw and Matteo Gabbia instead. But now, as time is progressing and there are issues with the other two center backs, these two guys are making a bit of a resurgence, and the duo that they showed themselves to be today, if this is the way that they're going to play against other teams, the way that they played against Inter, if their positioning is going to be this solid, there was a moment of time, I think in the second half, where they caught Inter offside and into an offside trap, and it was a goal scored, but it was ruled offside. But the way that Pavlovic and Tomori and even Theo Hernandez in that particular in that situation were in lockstep with how they were moving fluidly as a line of players together in the back line, that was actually a little bit unique to see, because the complaint from probably all three of these players, Pavlovic, Tomori, and Theo, have been that they're just all over the place sometimes in their positioning. They played a solid defensive game today, and the amount of slide tackles that Pavlovic has been putting in, and the amount of interceptions that he's been putting in on the opposition's attacks, and the switch of possession, the slide tackle, I think there was a slide tackle in the second half where he slid in. Inter was starting an attack from a corner kick that Milan took. They were going on the counter. He slides in, and the way that he slid in, it was a perfect pass at the same time as an interception to a Milan player, and then Milan went back on attack, and you could hear the crowd was just so behind Pavlovic today. It was just a solid lockdown performance from the two center backs that Milan has, which means that one of the rare times this season that all four of Milan's backline in Walker, Tomori, Pavlovic, the goalkeeper and Mike Maignan, and now the next good thing has to be Theo Hernandez's performance. This doesn't usually happen where our backline is this airtight. A goal was still conceded. We'll talk about how that was conceded, but you can't blame Theo Hernandez for that one. Theo Hernandez was actually involved in the goal that Milan scored. It was, his pass out to Rafael Leao that eventually led to that Tijani Reijnders goal. And even on defense, he was a different breed today. There were multiple times that, he locked down Denzel Dumfries as he usually has in the past. He also stopped Marcus Thuram from creating a few attacking chances. And I think he even had a particular sort of a block. He got in the way of Bisek when he was trying to create an attack too. To me, you almost got the sense that our backline, our defenders, specifically the three guys in Theo, Tomori, and Pavlovic, did a lot less in terms of having to do heroics and slide tackles, and it was more just really intelligent and well-positioned sort of defensive display that kept the score sheet pretty much to a clean sheet up until the last 3 minutes of the game. The next good thing from today's game, you're gonna have to give it to Tijani Reijnders' display. I mean, during the first significant portion of the game, it was really all Inter and attack. I think by this point in time, they probably had even scored 1 or 2 offside goals. So the amount of attacks that they were putting in, Milan really wasn't matching up from an attacking standpoint and looking like they were going to score goals the same way that Inter was looking like they were going to score a goal. But it was that attack that was sort of started by Reijnders from outside the box, dribbled the ball into the box, and the shot that he took, posted stamp corner of the goal, it was a phenomenal stop by Sommer. If it was any other goalkeeper of a lower quality level, that probably would have gone into the back of the goal. So right from that offset, you felt like Reijnders looked like that dangerous attacking possibility, making those late runs into the box and looking to finish those attacking chances with his creativity and his ability to finish as of late. And that's what it was. It was a late run into the box. The other attackers had, created what they had. It was a great ball won by other players. I mean, we'll get back to that, but, for Reijnders to score that goal, it meant that Reijnders has now scored 11 goals for Milan this season. Last season, he'd only scored 4 goals. he's gone up to 11 goals this time around. And in terms of goal contributions, the guy had 7 goal contributions last season. He's already at 13, and we're left with a bunch of the season still left. So a dream run for Reijnders this season to cap it off with a derby goal as well. Now, the last 2 good things, I have to be very cautious with you guys because some of you guys don't really like it and you get mad at me, and it's okay. But 2 of the last good things are more going to be individual roles played in a build-up. It's not necessarily a good performance, but the fact that they were involved in important things in the build-up of those goals. Number 1 is going to be Tammy Abraham. Tammy Abraham is the guy who won the ball off of Hakan Çalhanoğlu. He then, touched the ball in the way of Benacer, sort of driving it forward and, freed up a little bit of space for Benacer. And then eventually he passed it to Theo, to Leao, to Reijnders, getting that strike. But if it wasn't for that one particular moment where Tammy won the ball off of the opposition, Milan may not have scored a goal in the first half, and that's the wild part. Keep that in mind, guys. This is a striker. This is supposed to be a center forward up front, but he's dropping all the way back close to Milan's box. At that point in time, Çalhanoğlu was in Milan's half. They were trying to create an attack, and it's Tammy. I think that's what kind of caught even Çalhanoğlu off guard, is that you had this striker that was dropping all the way back, winning the ball off of him. And, at the risk of repeating myself 100th time this season, the guy does do the job when it comes to, helping out the team in the build-up play. He does do the job of dropping back and helping out from a defensive standpoint. He doesn't score the goals. That's a fair criticism, but he did something really important today for the team. And that's what brings us to Rafael Leao. Again, it was a solitary moment. It probably wasn't his best performance today. It hasn't been his best performance for a couple of games now. We need that Rafael Leao, who's been scoring goals and assisting goals pretty regularly over the past few games, to make a comeback now. He's kind of gotten lost for 2 games now. But again, even in a game that he has a quiet match, he doesn't do as much. He actually played a very important role in Milan scoring that goal. It wasn't necessarily the best shot from Rafa. I think he really wanted to get on the score sheet today. There were a couple of chances that he took in the second half that actually bothered some of the Milan players. They felt like he should have distributed the ball to them instead. But that goal that Milan created, it was a shot from Leao towards Jan Sommer. He, forced him into a parried save. He couldn't hold on to the ball. It spilled away, and Reijnders was able to tap into not an empty net, but a unprotected net, at least from a goalkeeper standpoint. And for that one individual moment in driving the ball forward and taking that shot that resulted in the goal, I'm gonna have to put it in the good category for today. Which brings us to the bad. And you guys are not gonna be, some of you guys are really not gonna be happy with the first bad. I'm gonna have to put Christian Pulisic's overall performance in the bad category today. The only reason why Leao dodged being in the bad category, because his performance overall was pretty bad, was because he was involved in the build-up of that goal. Pulisic was pretty absent from today's game. He was actually extra absent in the first half. He was a little bit better in the second half, but still in an important match when he is an attacking threat for this team, and he is a player that is now seen by the opposition as a legitimate threat on a consistent basis. In a derby match, you definitely need a little bit more from him. It's a rare occasion for me, to be honest, when I go throughout an entire match and I write nothing for Pulisic. There was nothing necessarily negative that I put in. There's no minuses, but there's no pluses either. And that rarely ever happens that his category is fully blank, because there was nothing really of substance that I saw Pulisic do on either sides of the field that really changed the game in Milan's favor. It never swayed, against Milan. He never made an important or critical mistake. But you feel like your star player has to step up in a big match like today, and that's why I'm going to put his overall performance in the bad category. And the next 2 bad things, I'm going to put Francesco Camarda. Now, a lot of the times I've sort of been easy on the guy because I feel like, he's 16 years old. I don't want to be too harsh on him, and we've kind of stayed away from criticizing him too much because we accept that he's going to make mistakes. It's part of growing up and becoming a actually good quality player. And I think it was just one moment. That's why I said Leao and Tammy Abraham made the good category because of one moment. I think for Camarda, there was one negative moment that took place, and that was an opportunity that was created in the second half. Milan was still up 1-0. He had the ball. Inter was on the back foot. They didn't have enough bodies covering. Reijnders on the left of Camarda was completely free, and a player who's scored a goal and has looked in good form to be able to score more goals, I know that Camarda wanted that glory shot of, taking a strike, and it wasn't necessarily a bad shot. But when you have a player like Reijnders available to your left, and you have a player like, I think it was Samuel Chukwueze available to your right, two players who are on their favored foot to be able to strike at goal while you're holding on to the lead 1-0, but you choose to take a strike from almost outside the box. I felt like it was a bad individual moment. If Milan would have doubled their lead, there's a very good chance they would have picked up the 3 points. And for that reason, Camarda's decision-making would have to go in the bad category. And again, just one individual moment puts Jimenez in the bad category. I feel like a lot of Inter players probably, they probably underestimated the kind of quality this guy has, especially when he just came on. The way that he was playing off of his teammates, he looked like a genuine attacking threat for Milan. He could actually be a pretty good player, but that one moment where he had to clear the ball in the 93rd minute, if he had just cleared the ball away, there likely wouldn't have been an Inter goal, but he cleared it right to an Inter player. He then picked up the ball, created that attack, and they ended up scoring a goal. So again, an individual moment, that bad clearance from Jimenez is the reason why it's in the bad category. Which brings us to the ugly. Now, I could have put these two guys in, or these moments in the bad category, but I felt like just because they ended up conceding the goal from those, I have to put them in the ugly. The first one's going to be TerracciaNO. I was a little bit concerned, I'll be honest, when Sergio Conceição brought him on and decided to take, I think, Musa off. I was concerned that this moment might be a little too big for Terracciano. He might be, I don't want to be too harsh, but he might be one of those players that I feel like starting to semi-resemble that Pobega time at Milan, where you want him to do well, but you feel like his skill set might just not be strong enough to be able to get the job done and, take Milan over the finishing line in these moments. Because it was truly him. Milan was actually in a very comfortable situation. They just had to hold on to the ball and keep pushing forward. For whatever reason, because of his own clumsiness, TerracciaNO lost the ball. Inter came onto the attack, and they ended up winning, I think, a corner kick from that attack, and eventually the goal ended up coming from that. But I think uglier than anybody else, you have to put Samuel Chukwueze. On that particular moment, at one point in time, Chukwueze and Zalewski were actually lockstep in terms of where they were standing. But for him to be able to make a darting run all the way to Milan's far post, and for him to be completely isolated, and for Chukwueze to just be jogging back, marking nobody. He was on an island. Chukwueze was. In the 93rd minute, you're supposed to be seriously tuned in when it comes to your defense. And in that moment, Chukwueze was nowhere to be found. You cannot blame Kyle Walker in that situation. He was clearly marking his own man. Chukwueze was not marking Zalewski. He made that run forward, chested to De Vrij, and he ended up scoring a goal. And even in that moment, if you watch the replay again, you'll look at Kyle Walker just looking at Chukwueze and saying, why aren't you marking this guy? And when you can see from the cameras that those two guys were lockstep, Zalewski and Chukwueze, and he makes that run forward and Chukwueze is still jogging back, eventually they score a goal, and your own teammate is looking and saying, hey, why aren't you marking this guy? That ended up being the goal that ended up making it into a 1-point game for you instead of a 3-point derby win for you. You naturally have to put that in the ugliest part of the ugly category. And there you have it, Milan AC. That's the good, bad, and the ugly from today's match. Not a derby win, but also not a derby loss against a high-quality Inter side. Remember, guys, this is an Inter side that is trying to win the Serie A title, and you have a Milan side that is still trying to get into the top 4, the top 5 for the Champions League qualification. So in terms of quality, these two teams are in a very different place. Now, yes, if you are in the lead till 93 minutes, you should be closing down the match. But if at the beginning of the game, you told a lot of Milan fans that would they take a point from today's game, I think a lot of people would have said yes. I think the key for me is that this team has to maintain this momentum. The way that they played against Inter today, they have to get some freaking consistency to this team. And the hope that you have is that with additions like Santiago Jimenez, Kyle Walker, potentially more players coming on transfer deadline day, this team will be able to hit that consistency. Now, once again, I've made this, I've talked about this in one other video. I do have to talk about something important that is happening with the channel. The important thing is that I will be going away from about February 10th till March 10th. Basically, I'm going to be gone for a month. So during that 1 month, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to put out content. I will try my best to cover some games. However, the games that I won't be covering, I will be bringing in a guest content creator. So you'll have some different perspectives, not just whatever I think. Some people that think completely differently from me that are going to be coming on the channel and putting out a video in review of the games that are being played. A few of you guys have been putting in names in the comment section to consider. A few of you guys have actually volunteered to be the guest creator for one of the games. Make sure you guys are nice to the guest hosts. And make sure you guys support them, support the channel. I'll obviously be back. I'll probably create some content from overseas. But I'll be honest, guys, I think I do need a little bit of a break from just creating content. My back is breaking on me. My neck is breaking on me. You know, editing the content. It's been taking a bit of a toll, and I think I do need a little bit of a break. But if you guys can think of anybody that you want to be the guest creator for a particular game or for a few games, make sure to put them in the comment section. And as always from my side, Forza Milan, grazie mille, ciao tutti. Did you know Benito Mussolini put an end to the existence of Inter Milan? And the only reason why AC Milan is called what it is because of the fascist leader? What led to the breakup of AC Milan and Inter Milan in that restaurant behind the Duomo is fascinating in itself. But what is even more fascinating